All right, stay with us. Coronavirus still around, and thousands of Americans get surprise medical bills after hospital visits. Up next, we're going to have that and more when National Report returns. We told you earlier about a Colorado man who spent 2 weeks in an ICU fighting off the coronavirus. That's Robert Dennis. He went home to recover, but then he received an $840,000 bill. This is called surprise medical billing. The Trump administration is trying to end it possibly as part of the next round of rescue funds. They're floating a plan that would outlaw health care providers from sticking patients with staggering bills. Again, an $840,000 bill. Surprise medical billing. For more on that and how to fix it, I'm going to bring in now Rick Manning. He's the president of Americans for Limited Government. Our panel, Joe Victoria's back as well. Rick, tell me about this $840,000 bill. This guy, that's some sticker shock.
That is some sticker shock. And, there's a consensus that something needs to be done. The challenge is that the Democrats want to have a one-size-fits-all rate-setting plan that sets the stage for the socialized medicine that they're hoping to create in 2021. The right alternative is to say that the patient doesn't get that surprise medical bill. The healthcare provider and the insurance company go to arbitration to determine what the insurer should pay versus and what the health provider should eat. And that way, the patient's protected and the health provider is able to get a reasonable amount of pay for the work they do, and the insurers are able to defend their bottom line as well. It's a logical solution. It's a solution that's available. It's a solution that's proposed. Unfortunately, it's not the solution that passed the House of Representatives.
So what is going to happen on both sides here? What is the difference between what the Trump administration would propose and then what's coming from the majority-led House Democrats?
Well, the Trump administration has just said that patients can't get the bill. That's what their policy is. They have not come up with how to settle the differences between the insurers and the healthcare providers. And so the challenge really is what happens between those two. Mm-hmm. And what Congress, what I'm hoping the Senate will do, is opt for an option that is very simple. That option is providing arbitration in the federal courts, which will allow for these situations to be resolved.
That's where Joe and Victoria come in. Victoria, I'd love to hear your thought on this.
Well, it's a very big problem because people think they're insured, and then they can go to a hospital and all of a sudden they get a bill from somebody that they said, well, this doctor wasn't in your plans. And so it's such a overwhelming situation for somebody who's just gotten over a sickness, a serious sickness. But arbitration sounds like such a good idea. And it's so contrary to the Democrats. One size fits all, which is what they continually do for everything. They want to dictate from Washington. So take it back to the local level and have individuals work it out.
Yeah, Joe, you would think this may have been a bipartisan effort here. If we're all facing the coronavirus, we're in this together, right?
Well, it should have been, but of course those days of bipartisanship are long gone, except in the rarest of circumstances. This problem with surprise billing, like the gentleman who was described in the story, should have been solved a long time ago by the hospitals themselves and the insurance industry, but they didn't want to solve it. The hospitals have a lot of power, the insurance industry has more power, and so when this happens and the American consumer gets the short end of the stick, everybody turns to the government to solve the problem. And I want to reiterate, the hospitals could have solved this problem a very long time ago. They were derelict in failing to deal with it, and they're happy to have the government take over the decision. But the insurance companies and the hospitals can work this out. I think arbitration is perfect. The most important thing is that patient who went in thinking he or she was covered should never have to pay the surprise bills. It's up to the insurance companies and the hospitals to work it out through arbitration. That's the answer. It's the only one you're ever going to get.
Final response from Rick, and then we got to go.
Well, I agree. This is an arbitration matter. It's sending it into just the federal courts without people who are trained arbiters on this kind of thing exposes people to wildly different decisions. Trained arbiters who are dealing specifically with these problems is the answer. There is a solution in Congress, and that solution needs to pass.
Rick Manning, thank you so much for joining us. Joe, Victoria, stick around. We'll be right back.